Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top stories today. It's not over yet. That's the word from the director of CAL FIRE regarding the wildfire crisis in and around Los Angeles. A new blaze burning about a football field-sized area every 2 to 3 seconds. Amy Kiley has more on the Hughes fire.
We're not out of the woods yet.
Another large wildfire is spreading quickly toward Los Angeles area homes. The Hughes fire is burning in Castaic, a suburb in the foothills and mountains of northern LA County. Tens of thousands of people who live in that area are under evacuation orders or warnings.
This is the closest one so far.
Several area roads are closed, including a stretch of I-5.
So as soon as I heard about it, I figured it was going to be tough to get home, so better to leave early than not be able to get home at all.
The National Weather Service is extending its red flag warning into tomorrow. It applies to most of LA and Ventura counties. The service says Santa Ana winds have been pushing the Hughes fire southwest.
We have engines at the houses that are in front of this fire, there to protect those structures.
Officials say the good news is it's been less windy than when the Palisades fire began. They say that's allowed a consistent aerial attack on the Hughes blaze. They add that having thousands of resources in the area allowed for a fast response. Firefighters are starting to get a handle on the Palisades and Eaton blazes, but the director of CAL FIRE says this new wildfire shows the crisis is ongoing.
And as we continue through these weather conditions, we recognize that it's not over yet. We recognize that we still have a couple of days to go.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Closer to home, one man is dead, another under arrest following an incident Tuesday night. Lexington police say 33-year-old Aris Rodriguez Linares was arrested late Tuesday. It stemmed from a call to a verbal altercation. Police say when they arrived, they found a man dead in a stalled-out vehicle and numerous holes in the windshield of the car. Rodriguez Linares was arrested at the scene on first-degree murder and felony weapon charges. No word yet on an initial court date. The former director of History Nebraska out of legal hot water for now. A Lancaster County District Court judge dismissing a felony theft count against Trevor Jones this week. According to court documents, the judge ruled that prosecutors waited too long to bring Jones to trial. Jones resigned back in 2012 after a state audit raised questions about his handling of over $200,000 worth of donations meant to cover losses related to the pandemic. The state attorney general's office says they plan to appeal. To legislative news, a proposed abortion bill in the state unicameral drawing some controversy. It's called the Chemical Abortion Safety Protocol Act. It's looking to require new steps and extra documentation for people seeking abortion medications. Under Senator Rick Holdcroft's bill, a pregnant woman would have to have an in-person appointment with her doctor and another follow-up appointment to discuss any adverse effects if they want access to any abortion-inducing drug. The bill doesn't ban common abortion medications like mifepristone or misoprostol, but those in support of abortion medication say this bill could be a slippery slope to an eventual total ban. Holdcroft told the Nebraska Examiner that to him, the bill's about providing, in his words, good health care for women receiving abortions. The U.S. House passed the Laken-Riley Act on Wednesday.
On this vote, the yeas are 263 and the nays are 156. The bill passed. And without objection, the motion to reconsider laid on the table.
The immigrant detention bill represents a first legislative win in President Donald Trump's return to the White House. The measure requires the Department of Homeland Security to detain undocumented migrants who are accused of certain crimes, including theft and burglary. It was named after Laken-Riley, a college student who was killed in Georgia last year by Jose Ibarra, an undocumented migrant from Venezuela. He was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. A bill, meanwhile, introduced by a Nebraska senator at the federal level, seeks to stem the tide of women being disproportionately affected by car crashes. U.S. Senator Deb Fischer has introduced the She Drives Act Fisher's bill would require advanced technology that would gather research from female crash test dummies. Right now in the U.S., only adult males are used as crash test dummies. Experts say that doesn't account for women who, on average, have a smaller bone structure and sit closer to the wheel.
The current safety criteria that we have and we follow in crash testing and design and development of roadside safety barriers, they are all based on a model that was established in 1970 using all based on the male dummy. And since then, the female drivers on roadways, they increased.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says 1,300 women die every year who would have lived if there was research on female death and injury rates. Well, across the nation, including here in Nebraska, high school sports facing a tough opponent, declining participation. Earlier this week, we took a deep dive into the state of girls athletics. Now, we turn the spotlight to boys. Casey Wannenberg joins us with a look at the numbers, some of which may surprise you. Ainsworth hitting the road, taking on Burwell.
Friday Night Lights.
Championship aspirations.
Across the nation and here in Nebraska, football continues to lead the scoreboard as the most popular sport for boys. But this powerhouse is struggling to keep players on the field. Within 5 years, the roster size for Nebraska high school football shrank by 76 players. Expand the timeline to a decade, and the sport lost more than 1,300 athletes. 2 decades, down more than 2,600.
And they have been a very good team.
Basketball is another sport trying to keep possession. In 5 years, participation dropped by 736. And 10 years, more than 830. But the biggest buzzer beater? 20 years ago, there were more than 2,000 more boys taking shots than there are today. But not all of the sports have seen losses in players. Wrestling, for example, has been holding steady over the past decade and is even up from 20 years ago. Meanwhile, baseball and soccer have won over more players, and other sports like cross country, swimming, and track are up from 20 years ago, but have lost some ground in the last 10 years. And then there's golf, which hasn't exactly been a hole-in-one, losing athletes over the past 2 decades, but it may be finding its way back onto the fairway with a recent revival. While some sports are finding new recruits, others are fighting an uphill battle to keep their teams in play. For News Channel Nebraska, I'm Casey Wannenberg.
2 new officers have joined the ranks of the Norfolk Police Department, bringing the total there to 31. After months of rigorous training, Jake Bartosh and Stuart Hazeman sworn in this week, expressing their enthusiasm to serve the community.
It's awesome to be here. Norfolk is a great community. It's different from a lot of other communities, and that's one of the great things about being here in Norfolk. The relationship with all your coworkers. Although I haven't been here terribly long, just since the start of December, I already feel a bond with so many of my coworkers, and it's just a great feeling to know that they're there if I need them.
To me, it's huge because it's an opportunity for me to give back, and for this career, this is something I've looked forward to my whole life, to actually get the badge and the gun and the cuffs and be able to help others out in the community and enforce the law, and it's a dream come true.
The 2 officers will ride with field training officers for 2 more months. Once that's done, they'll be given keys to their own squad cars and patrol the streets on their own. And finally, in an effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, a central Nebraska city forming a partnership with an out-of-state company to make its landfill more efficient. Ryan Valenta has more.
The city of Hastings is continuing the process in forming a partnership with a gas company to reduce its landfill emissions in what can be called a win-win situation for both sides. The Chicago-based company New Carbon is in the process of developing a system that will capture methane emissions from the Hastings landfill and convert it into renewable natural gas.
Our purpose for being is to reduce the life cycle carbon intensity of operations for our ag and industrial customers throughout the Midwest.
It's not a well-kept secret. Landfills stink.
Remnants of scraps, trash, and waste decay in landfills and produce odors, which is partially from methane, a greenhouse gas. While it's almost impossible to prevent methane from being produced from waste products, New Carbon is offering an effective solution to mitigate those emissions at the city landfill in Hastings.
What we're looking to do is to build a landfill gas collection system on the City of Hastings municipal landfill and essentially collect the biogas and install an upgrading system to upgrade that biogas into pipeline quality natural gas.
The process takes the trash that's already in the landfill and captures the methane gases, which after being treated are exported to an already existing natural gas line less than a mile away to the north. The city's environmental director says there's no danger in methane levels at the landfill right now, and the partnership is more of a proactive approach for the future with an expansion on the horizon.
Right now we are meeting the statutory limits on how much, so we don't need to remove it today. But as we start filling up the landfill, then there's more material to generate more methane, as well as just looking down the road, with the landfill expansion, there's going to be more cells out there. We're going to have a landfill there for the next 30 or 40 years easily.
The win-win plan for both parties is for the emission capture system to be built on this land here that the city bought from the state last year. New Carbon will build and pay for the equipment, installation, and maintenance, leaving no cost to the city of Hastings. New Carbon is currently in the early stages of engineering the system and will begin construction in 2027 with an expected completion date of 2029. While Lammers and New Carbon still have several years to go in the development process, the city of Hastings will see and smell the benefits at no cost to them. Reporting in Hastings, Ryan Valenta, News Channel Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com. Click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.